He runs diesel engines so they don't go choo-choo. UP trains are yellow and DMEs are blue. Dustin School Railroad, where the railroad comes to you.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the layout room. I didn't get a video up last week, so I do want to bring you up to speed on what I have been doing down here. I get to make some pretty good progress, at least I thought so, last weekend, but I'll let you know what's going on here, so just stay tuned and we'll flip things around. I'm going to be a little bit of everywhere when I do this today, but follow along, and I'm going to kill the furnace because it's a nice day today. Well, I don't need it, and that way you can also hear me while I'm doing my recordings. So stay tuned and have fun as we kind of move through the layout this week. So after I did all my painting and stuff, I did go through last weekend and put the track in. I finally went through and at least, well, not all of it, but I got a good chunk of it done. I got the track laid through the hills, the passenger line. There's a few places I'm going to need to batten it down just a little bit better, but I got the bridge in here over the gorge, which I'm not sure if I'm going to put a road in there or if I'm going to put a little river in there. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. Probably just going to be a road coming in from the north. But anyway, I got that going over the Buffalo Ridge, the passenger line, which will come down through the hills and making its way down here. Now, you'll see I've got a weight on it right now. I've got it, came in pretty good. I had no problem with bending the curve, but for some reason this week, as it sat, it's starting to lift up a little bit right there. So I got a little glue on it just to tack it down, because I use my railroad spikes to hold it, and then I, from there, go and, put the ballast on and glue it down that way. But, again, it's just lifting a little bit. It's not even twisting, it's just lifting like it wouldn't stay flat. And so I'm putting a little glue on it just to hold it down. But other than that, we're in good shape going through here. And so I got everything connected back up for the passenger line on this module here for right now. And we will go from there. I'm going to lay more track eventually here, but I've got a little more work to do at this point. But again, that's what I've got right now. I'm going to take my screwdriver and my wire shears and some wire, and we're going to go underneath the layout, because unlike last time, I actually had enough brains to drop my feeder wires on my passenger line like I forgot to do when I put this in as a mock-up. So stay tuned. That's what we're working on. Okay, guys, I get to bear with the sound of the water heater in the background. I apologize, but I'm not waiting a whole hour for this thing to decide to get done, so we'll just do the best we can. So I'm under the layout now, and as you're seeing right here, this is where my NCE power base is. Now, I have this block here, if you haven't been familiar with, this is my programming track I have here. You'll see I have a switch right here, and that's for switching between the main line and the programming track, which is right here. Unfortunately, I tried to put a switch hole in here, but I don't have a router, and it became a big problem, and I'm going to figure out some other way to hook that switch in eventually, but for right now, that's what I have. So I have the lines coming in from the power from the NCE, I have a line going to the programming track, I have a line coming back here. Now once I get the switch in, these wires will get cleaned up a little better. But as you can see, as I come up underneath here, we get underneath here to the bus lines. Now, I have all these jumped here because I ended up buying the only flipping switch blocks here or junction blocks that couldn't fit any kind of universal of those clip jumpers, so I had to make my own jumpers. But be that as it may, I got the main line coming in power here, and then it goes from the last one out to the next block. Now I have 5 of these blocks around the layout. Fortunately, I wasn't thinking I should have put one in there, because as you'll see, I've got feeder wires coming down from the passenger line. But that's okay. I knew that in this middle section I wasn't going to have as much, of course I hit the line right there, I wasn't going to have as much in this middle junction box up here, so I put a block there, and I can always run wires through and connect them. And then I have a junction block under the middle section, under the, if I can get these wires out of the way, under the middle terminal here where the yard is, and then I have 2 blocks over there, one on that table and one under that table there. But that's what I have right now. And so I've got feeder wires, and I try to group them by the back lines, the one on the left, the ones on the right of the loop, because above me is the loop for the hardscrabble ethanol plant, where I make the turn and go up the hill into the Buffalo Ridge. So what you're seeing is One set of feeder wires dropped down on one side of the bridge, and one side of feeder wires dropped down on the other side of the bridge. Now this is just one I put in somewhere in the back, and these are the back feeders I've got on my freight line, and I've got a couple other ones in the front and stuff. So I've got the front buses together, passenger and freight. I've got the side buses together, passenger and freight. Now some guys go, well, you should be separating each bus with its own line, and maybe I should. But so far I've been getting luck with this. This way I know if something's dying in the back, I know it's the back line. I can check it. At least I'm keeping my backs separated from the fronts and all that. But as you see right now, my goal is I've got my last spade terminal here. That's what connected to the back, but I'm going to hook in that last jump wire here. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. Again, this may not be what you all have to do, but this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to try to do this in a way that you guys can see it. I'm trying to see if when I bring everything together, if it works or not. That should work. You'll be in sight. So what I'm doing is I've got the spade bit, which used to be just to this freight line here. I'm hooking in the passenger line as well now, and then all I'm doing is twisting, and I've got wire staples, so when this all gets finished up, I'm going to staple it together. But then I just take a wiring nut and I hook it in like so, and that is my negative. Now my feeder wires of my bus wire are all going to be these. Oh, that little guy didn't get in all the way, and see, that's the problem I got to watch out for, is not always do they get in. So I've got to make sure they get up there all the way. Wrap the passenger one. Again, these are solid wires that I've got on some of the smaller feeder wires, and I've got stranded wire here on the ones that I've got running from the passenger line. Okay, so we'll do that. Wrap that around so I know it's caught. And then hopefully, if I can get my fat fingers to cooperate, do this and connect. And again, like I said, this may not be the perfect way to do it, but it's the way it's been working for me. And again, I just put this wiring nut on. There we go. And so my negative wire is hooked up. So now I just need to hook up, well, negative. I guess it's not necessarily a positive negative, but you know what I mean when I'm talking about this. So now I'll hook these together. Just twist it around a little bit. Bring that one together like so. Bring them together. Try to wrap them as best I can. Get the wire nut out of my sausage fingers. And go underneath and twist them. Now I'm not going to show you every junction, but that's what I've done under my layout right there, as you can see. And I've got those wiring nuts under there, and that's what's holding it together. Going back to the junction boxes, which are now all full on the hard scrabble line. There'll be more junction boxes or different junction boxes coming in for my, I'll put up here for my switches and that kind of stuff, and for my lights that'll eventually be in here. But that's what it looks like underneath my layout, and that's how I've got things hooked up. And it may seem a little disorganized, but believe it or not, I actually know where things are. But that's what I've got, and so that concludes the wiring portion of it. We'll see how it runs in a little bit. Hey guys, I'm back underneath now the layout. I got those other lines now run. They're connected together, and they are run to the junction on the middle section. So now the moment of truth is, will the engine run? But we're going to go ahead and run it and see. Even though this is the passenger line, we're going to just run it with one of my freight engines and make sure she works. Bring her up to speed. We're going to go about 10 on this. So far, so good. Running really smooth. Coming to the bridge. And going down. Now we're going to just do it backwards just to make sure she works. Back up to 10 again. I had to put a shim under the bridge because one end was low and it was fine going one way but not going the other. And back down she comes. Down out of the Buffalo Ridge. Back towards Hard Scrabble Pass. And the ethanol plant. All right. So we'll take that and run with it. And that's that part of what I've been working on this weekend. Now we're going to go do something else. Okay, everybody. So we're back here on the flats where the wind generator is going to go. And if you see my other videos, I have this nice little wind generator here. I don't know how well it's in focus because the camera's on the tripod right now. Sorry, guys. But what I'm planning on doing is, obviously I have this motor here that's got to be recessed in. And so what I'm doing is I know approximately where I want this thing. But I've got to kind of try to stand it up so I have an idea that it's not going to be near the skyboard. And it's not. So I'm going to put it right here. And if you see, I've got this boring bit. So I can do a, I don't need quite as deep as this thing goes, but I'm going to go level just so I can get it out. Just like that. Now I got to pull the thing out because it didn't work like I wanted it to. It's supposed to come right out. Alright, so we got that pulled out. So I got to get myself a drill bit. Here, I'm just going to stick it with this and see if that ain't enough to pull it off. There we go. So that chunk is out now. Now of course I'll have to vacuum. But right now, we'll do it the old-fashioned way, right? That's a technical way of doing things here when you're in model railroading, is blow the foam off. So now that I got the shell off, I wanted to have a hole big enough for the wires. Now, probably overkill, not gonna lie, probably is overkill. But I wanted to get through all the shells, all the boring, all the board, all the foam. And I wanted to get it deep enough so that I could run my wires through. The board. All right. So we've got it. I'm just going to test fit it right now. I'll vacuum this later. I will come back with my vacuum cleaner. But I wanted to test fit it, make sure it works. So we run the wires back down. Then again, why bother test fitting it? It's already cleaned out the way it looks. So I'll run the wires down. See if I can get them to stay together. And we'll do that. This is the wire for the LED that I rigged onto the top of the wind generator. If I can get them to twist them together. Why didn't I think of that, right? And then I got a few accessory wires which I may have to attach their connectors to beforehand, but never know. Now I could just use the stick method too, but I will do that if I have to here. Depends how this goes. But we'll try. See if we can't get it down there. Feeling the... There we go. And there's my wires. And I'll see if we can't get the green ones down there too. The green ones are the ones that run the motor. And I can't guarantee they're going to go, but let's pull these down as much slack out of them as we can. Hopefully they're not up too bad or anything. Get these green ones out of here. Yeah, knot would not be too good. Da-da-boom. So there we go. Got them down like that. Twist the motor wires together. Put them down the hole. Hopefully, like I said, they should be long enough that it's not a problem. I measured them out beforehand. Of course, I used, as Red Green would say, the most accurate tool in the handyman's repertoire, the eye. And I did get a hold of them. So, now that everything's cleaned out, we should be able to get a hold of these wires. And there we go. It doesn't work. So, apparently I need to go deeper with that hole. Even though, the funny thing is, according to the depth of the motor, it was there. But, so we'll just switch that back out. Not a big deal. We'll do that. And this is how you do it. I mean, no editing. This is as close to live as I can be because, well, it can't be live, but... Alright. There we go. See if we can't go a little deeper with this thing. There we go. Shoot her out just nicely. Now I can see the hole is almost down to the bottom. So now I know I can get the wires down there without looking at it. And I know I've got more than enough room because now I've gone about 3 inches down. And all the foam is out. Well, I'll vacuum all the foam. So I will be coming back in here, but this is a dry fit because I wanted to show you guys that it fits. And before this video is over, I will run my wiring back through here and we'll verify that it is indeed working. At least one nice thing, I can see my wiring so I can get a hold of it. Like I said, I'll come through and I'll vacuum this foam out all the way. This is just a dry fit for right now. Once I get done with that, I'll go through it. I'll take the camera off and run the vacuum all the way through so you guys don't have to sit and watch that all day. But at least that way it gets cleaned out so I don't have to worry about any debris getting to the motor. And we'll run the cable down like so. Let's get them separated first. As the offspring say, got to keep them separated. Sorry if you don't follow 90s rock. I really don't either, but I did that once off. Alright, so we do that. Twist these wires around. Again, this will be going, we'll be doing this again anyway, but like I said, this is a dry fit mode right now. Lots of things I'm doing here this weekend in the layout room. Okay, I think I've got a hold of those. Yes, I do. Get the wires pulled tight. At least I thought I had them pulled tight. Got one wire that doesn't want to cooperate. Get him down there. My name is whatever my name is. Alright. That'll be different. There's always one. You ever notice that when you're doing something, your best laid plans is always one wire, one this, one that. It's never a whole pile of stuff. It's always just one. And that's what's going on right now. I got one wire that doesn't want to play well with others. Well, he is now, though. I get him. Got him. Good. Pull all the wires together. And now that one's coming out. It's always something. As my grandfather used to say. Of course, he said it in German, and I don't know if what he actually said was it or not. Or he could just have been cussing for all I know. But let's see if we can't get all that wire. There we do. So we pull the generator in, and there we go. We have a wind generator mounted on here. So I'm going to vacuum up, clean this place up a little bit because it is messy now that I've put foam everywhere and all the other plaster and all the other dust of stuff I've done. But I'm going to clean this place up. So the next time you see it, I'll have cleaned up, and we'll test this baby out and see if it fits. Thanks for playing along so far. I had to do a little bit of tweaking the wiring, and I'll get to that in just a second, but it's kind of been symbolic of the weekend I've had and what I've been doing here. First thing I started out doing while Cousin Vinny was doing his Saturday special live stream, I was fixing, actually it wasn't even a live stream, it was his pre-program, but anyway, what we were doing is I had to fix the front gate, or the front fencing on my DM&E. And so it had popped off and had come apart in two pieces at the last train show I was at, where I was at, and we had the layout at. But I got that fixed. That was one of my goals for this week, was try to get that fixed. And now, if you'll just hang on, I'm going to show you where I did some wiring stuff, and then we'll get everything going. So this is somewhere you've all seen before if you've been following what I've been working on. And what this is now is I've got my power supply hooked up. I've got my 3, 5, and 12 volt power supply, and then I've got my AC power for my switches and anything that runs on AC, which includes the wind generator. Now over here, the one that's up right now, is the master power for the power supply. If you'll watch the indicator light there, I'll turn it off and turn it back on. That's been wired for a while, and I've had these spliced out for a little while. But what I wanted to do was have switches for all the auxiliary power. So whether it was the 3 volt for the lights, 5 volt, whatever have you, I wanted to have interrupts so I could turn the lights on and off. This one is the AC accessories from my old DC block. And so what I've done then is run these wires. Now I've got some similar colors, and obviously that green is not orange, so I wrapped green electrical tape around, or orange electrical tape around the green. And blue is not yellow, so I did the same thing. Obviously red is red, so I don't have to worry about that. But what I did underneath here then was put some of these blocks here for my different voltages and my negatives. I have one running from the negative there, or the, negative 5 volts, right there. And then I have a couple back under here. You have to bear with me here as I flip it back around, but I've got a few up in here. So, now that I've got all that done, I can show you what I've been working on. So, we're going to kick on the accessory. And you can see the generator is spinning. Now, unfortunately, I don't have my LED powered up yet on top of it. I just needed a few other components here, and just didn't have them, and I'd be at this all night yet before I got the LED wires run down there. I know it doesn't sound like a whole lot of a problem, but I've got a few things I got to take care of first. So I will have the LED running later, but I do have power to the wind generator. So I dug that big pit there. I got everything mounted. I do have to put some caulking in there or something to make it stick, but that will be for another time. So now with my generator generating, my DM&E fixed up, let's go ahead and all my wiring run to my passenger line. Let's go ahead and get this bugger running, and I can call this weekend a bit of a success. Goes into Buffalo Ridge, or sorry, Hardscrabble Pass, into the Buffalo Ridge. Here she comes around the bridge, and we'll slow her down here. And there we have it, everybody. A successful weekend just on one little trip around. So I'll take that any weekend I can. So everybody, I want to thank you for kind of coming along with me this weekend. Again, a pretty good weekend for getting some stuff done here on the layout. Again, kind of a smorgasbord of things I've done, but I've got drop feeders wired into part of the passenger line. I've got my generator generating. I've got my train running across the track. Kind of a little fast, but anyway. But thanks for coming along. Hit like, hit subscribe, share if you want to. And thanks for playing along. Otherwise, have a great rest of your week.